We started out in Panama City, where there is an enormous investment of riches, and you see construction everywhere, these high rises just going up all around you. And there's extreme wealth, obviously, in the country. And then to travel out to Jaque, which is an extremely rural community on the edges of the country in every way you can talk about that, figuratively and geographically. Probably not given much attention at all by the central government until the number of Colombian refugees coming across the border drew some attention. It is a community living primarily of subsistence level, and you are at the top of the economic change there if you actually make subsistence. Wow. So many Panamanians and most of the Colombians are living below subsistence level. If you could fish enough to actually sell fish, there'd be nobody to sell the fish to in the community. In order to earn a living through farming, you have to be able to travel around the region and where there would be enough lands to be able to farm. But for most of the Colombians living in Jaque, they don't have that possibility because they were given a temporary protective status, which requires them to stay in the town, literally in the town in which they were documented. So they can't travel even 5 miles away to plant a crop. They can't travel to another town to sell products that they've made. And so they sit there and they try to survive. Well, there is an official office that is responsible for refugee determination. There are NGOs working in the community who are providing legal orientation and assistance. But the number of people who can actually be identified as refugees is so small that even they often refer them to other forms of immigration relief. We learned that about 2% have an opportunity to be recognized in Panama. So it's a very, very small percentage. Estimates are that there are well over 100,000 Colombians living in Panama, and yet there's no good estimate as how many of them actually need international protection, nor does it seem that there's a lot of interest in knowing how many are there that need attention. We met a woman in her 50s who you might guess was in her 70s because she is so thin and so frail looking. She does not eat every day. When you ask her, how she makes it gets by, she, just kind of shrugs and says somehow. We met another family in town that was a young woman with her 2 children. She will be 24, and she had, I believe, a 2-year-old and a maybe 4-year-old. She had left her 8-year-old son behind in Colombia, and she had built out a little room next to a shack that was housing another refugee family that she knew back in Colombia. And her room, although on solid ground, was probably about a fourth or maybe a half of the size of this office, in which she was raising her 2 little children. No water, no plumbing, nothing. And we found out after visiting her that she has throat cancer. But she will not travel away where she could get the medical treatment until she can get her son from Colombia. So she'd rather sit there with her 2 little children in this shed than take care of her own medical needs, because she does not want to move further and further away from her son. They're a forgotten group of people. And I think what we try to do at LIRS, and we try to do as part of the Refugee Coalition USA, is draw attention to those that are forgotten.